Welcome back to Focus Today, and very timely to have with us today Crista Huff, stock market expert, conservative political activist. She works with the End Global Governance to defeat the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement, which, as you know, President Trump just unwound the other day. The website is goodfellowllc.com. All right, Crista, hey, good to see you again. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine. Thanks for being with us. Well, it went over 20K. What does it mean?
It is normal for the stock market to rise over time because the stock market represents corporate profits. And if you own a company, it's normal for your company's profits to increase over time. So I'm happy that it's happening. It's somewhat overdue because the market was trading sideways for several years. And I am taking advantage of it for my subscribers to Cabot Undervalued Stocks Advisor, which is the newsletter that I write.
All right, I was going to go there. What's undervalued and what's overvalued? How are you advising your clients there?
I have a very simple screening for my stocks, and it works because it outperforms the market every year. Publicly, for 5 years, I have outperformed the market. So I pick stocks based on their profit growth this year and next year, not in the past, but in the future. And then I look for a low valuation, which we judge by price-earnings ratio. And then I look for low debt levels, because just like in your family, if you have too much debt, all of your cash goes to pay for the debt. Same thing in a business. If you have too much debt, it really bogs you down. So those three simple screens, if the stock passes those screens, then I look at the price chart to time my buys and sells.
Wow. Do you think the market's overvalued at the moment?
No, but also I don't look at the market as a whole in terms of valuation. I look at individual stocks. And so when I decide what to do, the big question is, are there 5 stocks on my buy list or 40 stocks on my buy list? And that's how I can tell whether the market's getting overvalued or not. And right now there are dozens of stocks on my buy list. So no, there's plenty of areas to go shopping, and I'm really happy with the market right now.
All right, very interesting. All right, let's go back to TPP. The president has sent out notice that we're pulling out of the deal. Let's go back to what it is. What is the TPP and why is it bad?
It's a huge trade agreement between 12 countries that surround the Pacific Ocean. If you can picture North America and South America, we've got the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Chile, Peru, and then a whole bunch of Asian countries such as Malaysia, Vietnam, Australia, Japan, etc. The problem with the trade agreement is the biggest problem is it gives away U.S. sovereignty to a large degree, very similar to Germany or France joining the European Union. There will be a new global commission that will make decisions on behalf of the U.S. It will override any decision that Congress or the U.S. justice system might otherwise make. So giving away sovereignty is my line in the sand. And that is why I got involved in this and went to Washington, D.C. 13 times to help prevent this from becoming ratified.
We got to be pretty happy, given notice we're pulling out. With the United States out of the deal, well, 2 questions come. Are we really out? And number 2, if we really are out, does the deal collapse?
Okay. We are really out unless Donald Trump is schizophrenic and changes his mind tomorrow. So on Monday, he wrote a presidential memorandum to the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, to the acting U.S. Trade Representative, instructing her to withdraw the U.S. from the TPP. As that takes place, the TPP is dead because based on rules within the TPP, it can't move forward without the U.S.
That's very interesting. So we hope that it's completely dead. I don't think much people really understood that it was another invasion upon our sovereignty. Is there any connection between the TPP and the UN and some of its rulings? I mean, this would have been an ultimate enforcement of the UN in another way, wouldn't it have been?
You know, UN dealings are somewhat separate. They haven't really crisscrossed my path as I worked against the TPP, but I will say that the proponents of the TPP were mostly the people who you would refer to as globalists. They were the people who wanted a world without borders, unlimited immigration, et cetera. One of the big problems with that, and we've seen it in many other trade agreements, is that They wanted a level playing field. And the only way that you can make the U.S. go on a level playing field with all the other countries in the world is by bringing us down, because so many of them are below where we are right now. The only way to lift them up is to bring us down, to average it all out. For example, the new rules on food safety were going to be that the U.S. was required to accept imported food from any country in the TPP, and we couldn't use, for example, FDA regulations against that food. We couldn't stop it at the border. So all of our food regulations were going to go way down under the TPP.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Imagine the food standards in Vietnam, and we were going to be forced to accept that.
I don't think anybody knew that. That's just amazing.
I could talk to you for 3 hours about 20 different horrifying things about this trade agreement. So I promise you, I did not enter into this lightly. I only choose political battles that are extremely serious, and praise God that we stopped this thing.
Amen to that. Let me ask you this, Crista. So where did it come from? Who was behind it? Is this an Obama socialization thing? What is this?
Well, it's been around. It was in the works for about 10 years. So I don't know who the initial people were, but I can tell you that if I named a lot of famous political people and families, they're all, you know, your classic globalists. They are the people who support all the globalization things, the global warming scam, the unlimited borders, and bringing all the refugees into America without screening them. So this was a political movement, and we stopped it. And this movement is not popular around the world because there were many different elections that took place in the last year and a half that had abrupt and shocking results. Canada, the Brexit, Austria, Australia. And this year there are 3 more elections, and already the election that's pending in France it's just like the Trump election. It's shocking everybody.
All right, so this President Trump, he was on the TPP bandwagon to repeal it early on in his campaign, and he's also sent some very strong signals to other trade agreements. NAFTA is now back on the table, what we do with China and around. How do you think the rest of the world's responding to this?
What Americans largely don't know, because it's not reported on in the mainstream media, is that other major trade agreements around the world are also falling apart. There is the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which is referred to as TTIP, and there's one between Europe and Canada, and both of those are on hold right now because of the global court aspect of those trade agreements. And again, it has to do with giving up sovereignty to a new justice system. And the people are saying, no, we don't want this. And then there are several other trade agreements that are also falling apart. So I think what we're going to see is the new trend will be, like Donald Trump is proposing, bilateral trade agreements, where it's like you and I'm America, you're Japan, we agree on something specific and we sign a trade deal. And it's a lot easier to get what you want and control the transaction when it's just 2 countries. Once it's 12 countries, you're just flapping in the wind.
Amazing. So where do you think NAFTA is going to go?
Well, they're definitely going to renegotiate. And so presumably it will be better. I don't think there's any chance it will be canceled. Mexico heavily relies on some of the components of NAFTA for energy. And if we got rid of NAFTA, they would be in a very sore spot in terms of their energy situation. So there's no way it's going to be canceled. One of the things that's on the table with NAFTA is the global court situation. Again, this has been haunting us, trade deal after trade deal, yet none of our presidential administrations were willing to address it. And that's one of the many reasons that Donald Trump drew a line in the sand and said, we're not doing business the old way anymore.
All right, he's certainly emphasizing something he said in his inaugural speech, America First. And the first couple of days in office, he's met with corporate CEOs, unlike anything we've ever seen. The auto industry and others have come to the White House and sit down. We've never seen a president do this before. That's got to reflect some encouragement to the bottom line to a lot of corporations if they stay home.
And we're probably going to be doing things that are favorable to business and American people, such as removing regulations that were driving some industries completely out of business and lowering tax rates. In addition, he met with union leaders, and they were absolutely thrilled. If you saw some of that video this week, I mean, the guy was emotional. He was so happy with the result of the meeting. And then Mr. Trump is meeting next week with the Prime Minister from Japan, the Prime Minister from the UK, and of course the leaders in Mexico and Canada. So he is on a roll. He is hitting the ground running.
What does this mean to the future tariffs? Do you have any idea?
There are many components to the trade troubles that we've been having. There are many moving parts. Whether you do nothing with tariffs or everything with tariffs, you've still got to deal with currency manipulation, VAT taxes, subsidies, illegal dumping, and more. So changing tariffs around, it can be used as a retaliatory measure. For example, if there is a country that is using some of those other components that I just mentioned. If there's a country that won't back down and play fairly, we can use tariffs to punish them. But the goal is not to punish people. The goal is to find a way to do business in harmony. Okay.
All right. The stock market's on a rise. It's above 20. It closed yesterday above 20. I've had some people on say during the Trump 4 years, we could see it go considerably higher, maybe up and around 30. I don't know. That's your expertise.
Wow.
I don't know about that, but I find this interesting that we're on this rise. Things are happening. What do you think happens to precious metals? Because when the stock market goes up, those values go down. Where do you think the bottom is in gold and silver?
I am not an expert in those because I only invest in them every few years as a quick trade. I don't really believe in buying them and holding them. I was looking at a gold chart recently, and it's in a very long-term sideways trading range, so I don't have much to say about that. But this is interesting for people. Every 6 years or so, there are about 2 really big years in the stock market. Let's say the stock market goes up 20 or 30% in about 2 out of every 6 years. Well, we haven't had that happen in quite a few years, so we're actually overdue for a huge year in the stock market, and we might see that this year.
All right. Well, Crista, you're a delight. Thank you for your time. We value it greatly and your hard work. Look forward to more chats because this is very, very interesting to watch. And after he meets with all these world leaders over the next couple of weeks, let's connect again and see what happens, okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Crista Huff. Again, you can check out our website, goodfellowllc.com. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.